Elarion Rangers. In the deep emerald heart of Elarion, where moonlight dripped through silver leaves and the air itself shimmered with quiet magic, there were whispers of a brotherhood, or perhaps a myth. They were called many things in the tongues of men and fae alike: the silver shadows, the moon's teeth, the rangers of the land. No one ever saw them arrive. You only knew they'd been there when the monsters were gone, the fires were out, and the silence of the wild had returned. Among the rangers there was no written scripture, no gilded code carved into temple stone. Their law was older than ink, older even than Elarion itself. It was the rhythm of the land, the pulse of the mother's heart beating through every root and river. They called it simply the law. We are the knife in the dark that cuts before the wound can fester, the old captains would say. The law taught 5 truths, not as lessons, but as breath itself. Guard the balance, strike before the shadow grows, walk unseen and fight unyielding. Remember that the land is the mother's flesh, and hold honor in silence. We don't fight for songs or statues, one ranger once muttered before vanishing into the mist. We fight so the world doesn't need them. They were the first to see the dawn and the last to leave the battlefield. They patrolled the wild borders, the Badlands, where the veil between realms thinned and nightmares crawled out of the earth. When the Archmagi slept in their towers and the noble houses feasted beneath silver chandeliers, the rangers walked the edges of the world. They hunted the things that should not be, the creeping blights, the whispering shades, the beast that remembered the taste of elf flesh. We are the silence between heartbeats, they said, the moment before the monster screams. Each ranger bore 2 weapons, a verdant bow, grown from living wood and silver veins, and a moon-forged blade, slightly curved and gleaming like the crescent above. Their armor was light, their cloaks woven from moonshadow silk. And when they moved, the forest moved with them. They were not an army. They were a storm, quiet until it broke. Within the order, 2 paths wound through the moonlit wilds. The majors of the Silver Path were tacticians and the long-range masters, archers who could loose an arrow through fog, wind, and darkness, guided only by instinct and faith. They commanded small patrols, weaving traps of light and illusion to outthink their prey. The hand-to-hand adventurers were the blades of the frontier, duelists, monster hunters, and close combat masters who fought where the air burned and the ground bled. They met their enemies face to face, eyes steady, blades singing with enchantment. A major kills from a mile away. An adventurer kills from a breath away. Both make sure the killing never reaches home. The Rangers' fighting regiments were unlike any other in the known realms, a seamless blend of elven precision and druidic communion with the land. Their ranks were composed of both elves and druids, bound not by blood but by purpose. The elves brought agility, discipline, and the artistry of war. The druids brought the raw power of the wild, the ability to command root, wind, and flame as extensions of will. Together they fought as one, a living storm of nature and steel. Their unity was their greatest weapon, and their homeland had never fallen to an invader. In all of recorded history, no enemy had ever breached the borders of Elarion while the Rangers stood watch. The forest remembers every trespass, one of their generals once said, and we are its memory made flesh. Beyond the Silver Cities lay the Badlands, a scarred expanse where the mother's light faltered. The Rangers called it the Wound. It was there they built the Outer Watch, a chain of hidden outposts, moonlit beacons, and runic stones that pulsed with warning when corruption stirred. When the signs appeared, rivers turning black, trees whispering in foreign tongues, or the sky bleeding red at dawn, the rangers rode out. They did not wait for orders. They did not ask for reinforcements. When others pray for dawn, they said, "We walk into the night." They struck first, always, because in their creed, hesitation was death, not theirs, but the realm's. To the common folk, the rangers were more legend than flesh. Children left silver leaves on their windowsills, hoping to catch a glimpse of one passing by. Farmers told stories of lone rangers standing against hordes of goblins, of moonlit duels against beasts that blotted out the stars. But the rangers themselves never spoke of such things. Their victories were buried with their dead, their names forgotten by design. "If they remember us," one old ranger once said, "it means we failed." They were the mother's unseen hand, the quiet guardians who cut away the rot so that the world might remain pure. When the cities slept, they kept watch. When the monsters stirred, they struck. And when the dawn came, the only sign they had ever been there was the stillness, the kind that comes only after something terrible has been set right. Two of their number still walk beneath the moonlight today, legends who refuse to fade into myth. The first is Captain Seren Valewind, called the Silver Gale. Once a scholar of the Grand Academy, she turned her back on the towers of magic after witnessing the corruption of the Blight of Lareth, a plague of shadow that nearly consumed the Moonwell itself. Seren led a company of only 12 rangers into the heart of the infected forest and burned it clean with silver fire, saving the realm but scarring herself with lunar flame. Her bow, Whisper Leaf, still hums with the echo of that fire. She now commands the Outer Watch, her eyes ever turned toward the horizon. "If the dark comes again," she once said, "it will find me waiting." The second is Kael Thorneveil, known among his kin as the last blade of the Badlands. Born of a noble house but disowned for refusing the council's call to politics, Kael vanished into the wilds and returned years later wearing the cloak of a ranger. It was he who ended the siege of Black Hollow, when an army of corrupted beasts poured from the earth and threatened the border cities. Alone, Kael held the pass for 3 days, his blade Moonfang cutting through monsters until dawn broke on the 4th day, and the reinforcements arrived to find him standing amid a field of ash. When asked how he survived, he only said, "The land wasn't done with me yet." The Rangers' greatest strength, their unity, stood in stark contrast to the flaws of their kin. The elves of Elarion, for all their grace and brilliance, were known for their pride, the druids for their stubborn reverence of the old ways. Even the Russ, the mountain-born warriors who once fought beside them, carried egos as heavy as their axes. Pride had broken kingdoms before, but never the Rangers. They had no room for vanity, no patience for glory. "Pride builds monuments," Captain Seren once said, "but we build graves and fill them with what threatens the mother." Though the Rangers often walked alone, they were not isolated from the world beyond their forests. Within the heart of Elarion stood the Verdant Hall, an adventurers' guild unlike any other, founded by both rangers and wanderers who had proven their worth in the wilds. The guild served as a bridge between the disciplined silence of the rangers and the daring chaos of adventurers who sought glory and discovery. The two groups shared a bond forged through countless campaigns, mutual respect, and blood spilled in defense of the same land. Many of the guild's members trained under rangers, learning the art of survival, stealth, and communion with the wild. In turn, the Rangers relied on the Guild's broader network, its scholars, artificers, and mercenaries, to gather intelligence and resources beyond the forest's reach. Joint missions between the Rangers and the Adventurers Guild became the stuff of legend. Together they had slain the Crimson Hydra of the Mirelands, sealed the gates of Varen's Hollow, and reclaimed the Obsidian Spire from the necrotic cults of the South. When the Rangers needed numbers, the Guild answered. When the Guild needed guidance, the Rangers led. Their alliance was not one of convenience, but of trust, a rare thing in a world where pride often outweighed purpose. The Guild fights for glory, Kael Thorneveil once said, and we fight for balance. But when the dark rises, we fight as one. Now a new darkness stirs, one deeper than any the Rangers have faced in centuries. It began as whispers in the Badlands, a corruption that spread through the roots of the world, twisting the land itself against its guardians. Trees wept black sap, rivers ran sluggish and cold, and the stars above Elarion dimmed as if veiled by unseen hands. The Rangers call it the Hollowing, a shadow that devours not just life, but memory. Even the Druids cannot cleanse it completely, for it feeds on sorrow and pride alike. Recognizing the threat's magnitude, Captain Seren Valewind sent word to the Adventurers Guild, summoning their greatest champions to the Outer Watch. The call was answered by names sung in taverns and whispered in the war councils: the Crimson Vanguard, the Silver Mantles, the Order of the Broken Star, and others whose deeds had shaped the age. Together they formed the Concord of the Moon, a coalition of rangers and adventurers united under one banner. Their mission? To trace the Hollowing to its source and end it before it consumes the mother's heart. For the first time in generations, the Rangers marched not in secret, but in open alliance. Druidic magic intertwined with adventurers' steel, elven archers fought alongside human paladins, and the songs of battle echoed through the forest once more. "The dark remembers us," Seren told her assembled forces beneath the silver moon. "But this time, we will make it fear our names." The Rangers of the Land are not heroes. They are necessity.